Hey all, today I am back in Chicago and I have the opportunity to drive the all-new 2025 Nissan Murano. Now I've already done a first drive review of this vehicle, so this is not going to be that. Instead, we are going to do, you guessed it, a tech check. So let's take a closer look at this week's car du jour, the 2025 Nissan Murano. First up, let's power up this vehicle because it really has actually kind of a cool intro graphic, and I definitely consider that part of the tech. Now, you will notice you do kind of have a single swath of glass that goes all the way from the gauge cluster to the infotainment screen, but it's not really a continuous image that goes all the way through, and that doesn't bother me. So this is what it looks like from my driver's perspective. So you've got the gauge cluster that shows up really well between the base of the steering wheel and the top of the steering wheel, so I have very clear visibility here. And then you have this over here, so the steering wheel just kind of bisects this glass anyway, so I think it looks pretty good. Now, if you are familiar with Nissan, this should not look unfamiliar to you, because this is a similar gauge cluster to what we have seen in other Nissan vehicles. And in terms of how you adjust this, you are going to go to this area over here, and then you can kind of scroll through some different options in terms of what you put in the center, but you can also go to your settings, your home, and you can go to your trip fuel computer, and you can change a little bit of what is going on back here. Now, you can also do the change meter. So this is your more traditional gauge cluster, but if you hit the change meter, it will give you something that looks like this. That is different than what we've seen, at least that I've seen in other Nissan vehicles so far. And personally, I guess I prefer the more traditional cluster, so I would probably just keep it here. But I do like the fact that you have a little bit of customizability and things that you can do to change it, to personalize it for you specifically. Now, moving over here, as you can see, we do have wireless Apple CarPlay, and it works pretty well on the Murano. I will say at the beginning I did have a little bit of a glitch when I was trying to have SIRI send voice text messages. Yeah, I'm spelling that out because she understands me. And it was cutting off my text messages, and it was not loading properly, but the more I drove the vehicle, it was like the more it got used to me and my voice, and it started to work. So initially there was a little bit of a problem, but then it kind of worked itself out. So I don't think that it is glitchy at all. This is very reactive. It moves very well, and I really like how the maps fill out your screen. Now it's gonna get slow because I'm filming while I am recording, but you can also use Waze. And I appreciate how it fills out. Now, this does also have a native system, so you can use your Nissan navigation, or you can go into your Apple CarPlay navigation. It all fills out the screen really well. And I will point out, this is an Android operating system, so this means it's Google powered, Google built in, and you can tell by the Google map here. So I like the fact that you have Google built in, and it is still allowing you to have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Thank you for that, Nissan. All right, what else do we have going on here? So you do have some climate controls here, and they aren't real buttons. They're more like capacitive touch things. And literally, as I run my fingers over them, I'm not actually pressing. It is just changing things. So you, I guess, could do a little bit of a press, but it's just more of a tap, and you don't it just feels your fingers on there, and then it accesses things. So that's interesting, and we've seen it before in the Nissan Ariya, so this isn't completely new, but it's different. Okay, but you do also have a little bit of a touch screen here where you can access some more functionality. I don't know how I turned on my cooled seats. I think it must have been when I ran my finger over this auto button here. But so you can go into that, you can turn it off, You can sync, you can turn on your heated steering wheel. And then you do have your quick settings here for your audio. You have some, you know, settings here for the vehicle. And then, all right, so yeah, that goes back to the Google operating system. Okay, let's talk about this for a minute. This to me is very awkward. It doesn't look like it should be a touchscreen because these items are really small, and I have small fingers, and I'm like really kind of like struggling to hit those. So I don't know that having small buttons along here is the best idea, because I think somebody with bigger fingers is really going to have problems with that. And my nails are, they're fairly short, but somebody with longer nails is definitely, I mean, they're going to be like, you know, trying to touch it with the pad of their finger. They're really going to have problems with this. So I don't know that that was really thought out well in terms of having these buttons icons really small. This is good. I like this side menu, and I especially like the fact that the side menu stays in place when your Apple CarPlay comes into play, because then you can always very easily switch between your native system and your Apple CarPlay, and I appreciate that. Now, you do also have the ability to customize these home menus here, so maybe these buttons aren't as important, but it just, I don't know. TBD. But I like the fact that there is the redundancy of controls. So you'll notice you have the camera icon here. So I did a couple of swipes and got it there. But then you also have the camera button here. So you have a physical button in addition to some icons that you can touch. And then you can change your camera views. And, you know, we're going to talk a little bit more about this camera later in the video, but I'm going to start by saying this is a good camera, and I like the adjustability of it. I mean, come on, this is really cool. You can get a really good idea of what is around you in the parking lot when you're in different tight situations. So I like that. So yeah. What else? So again, you can customize this menu. So maybe these icons aren't as important, but the fact that they exist just annoys me. If you're gonna put them there, just make them bigger. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say about that. Now, the Murano does have a wireless charger, and I'll be honest with you, it's not one of the good ones. It does heat up your phone, and it does not charge fast. But the good news is you do have your plug-ins right here, your USB-C ports, so that you can charge your phone just by plugging it in, which is something I would recommend. While we're in this area, we may as well touch on this. Instead of having a traditional lever, you now have push button gearing in this vehicle. And you know, I'm going to say this is half a dozen, 1/6 the other. I like a traditional like lever gear shifter, but I did not like the one that Nissan produced, because I always ended up in the wrong gear because there were no like gates to stop you from going all the way into like manual mode or low gear mode. So this way, at least, you're definitely going to hit the right thing. It's just, for me, a little bit awkward to get used to. And yeah, you don't have any place to rest your hand. I guess the point of that then is you keep your hands on the wheel. Now, something I do want to talk just a little bit about, and I'm not going to show it off in practice, but this does have the Pro Pilot Assist, which is more of an advanced adaptive cruise control system. The Nissan Murano did not get the full hands-free Pro Pilot Assist system from Nissan, and I remember during the first look of this vehicle, I asked why, and they're like, oh, well, our customers don't want it. Who doesn't want hands-free? Who doesn't want hands-free on the highway? So I don't understand that decision, but it's a really good hands-on system, but it does not have the hands-free system. And, you know, they did imply that, you know, if customers wanted it, that it's not out of the question to put it into future vehicles or add it in an update or a refresh. But in 2025, the Nissan Murano does not have the hands-free Pro Pilot Assist. It's just the 1.0 version, which is good. It is good. It's a good lane keep assist and adaptive cruise control system, but keep your hands on the wheel. Now I will point out that in addition to having your little button controls over here, you do also have a physical button for your heated steering wheel right here. And I appreciate that. I appreciate, again, the redundancy of the controls, but I think that's a little bit of a weird location, but you have multiple ways of hitting the same thing, and I always appreciate that because dealer's choice. You're the driver, you should be able to interact with the car the way that you want to. All right, before I get into a couple of other tech features, I did want to talk a little bit about my driving position because this is not ideal. I am too close to the steering wheel, and I mean, I would like to push the steering wheel about 2 inches further that way, and this is a power adjustable steering wheel, but that's as far as it goes. So I just really wish Nissan had given it a little bit more travel to be able to push it away from me. But that's not even the biggest problem. I mean, getting killed by an airbag would be a problem. But for me, on an everyday driving basis, like my knees, like when I move from gas to brake, do you see that? Like my knee is hitting the underbelly of the steering column, and there's a little bump out here with your park brake on it. Every time I'm getting in and out of the vehicle, I am hitting my knee on that. I'm hitting my head when I'm getting in. So I mean, yes, I'm short. I'm 5 feet tall. I'm the 5th percentile female. I am the lowest common denominator that automakers will design for. I can fit in the car. I can drive it. It is just not comfortable. So if you are on the petite side of things, I would say to you, you really need to give this a good test. You need to get in and out of the vehicle a couple of times, and you need to maybe bring a couple pair of shoes, like flats and heels, just to see how your driving position changes depending on the shoes you're wearing. I mean, dudes, you probably don't have to worry about that, but women, you should do that. The last time I felt this uncomfortable in a Nissan vehicle was in the Nissan Versa Note many moons ago. So I don't know what happened here, but this is not good. The seats are comfortable. The seats are comfortable. I like the seats, but they are even just a little bit too long. Like if the seat like cushion bottom was adjustable, that would probably alleviate some of this that's going on here. But because of the seat cushion pushing out my leg, like I'm hitting the bottom. So yeah, I'm going to say petite drivers, you really need to give this a good test before you buy it. Before we take a second look at the cameras, I did want to talk a little bit about the Panoramic moonroof because you have 2 adjustments, and one is going to be to open the moonroof and the other is going to be for the screen. However, if you hit this button right here, which is for opening the moonroof, it will open the screen halfway and then open the moonroof. So you do have like a 1 button operation here, but I will say the moonroof can go back just a little bit more, and the shade can also go back further, but you do not necessarily have total one-touch operation here because the screen itself, you know, this is one-touch close, but it doesn't close the screen at all. And if you want to close the screen all the way, you have to do a little bit of a double tap. So it one press will only close it halfway. And I tried to do the like holding it press, you know, the longer press, and it doesn't work. So this is a 2-step operation if you want it all open. And but I did like the fact that you could do this right here and then get both the screen and the window to open. So yeah, you know, and I'm not bothered by having 2 buttons here, one for the shade and one for the window, because sometimes people don't want this open, and that's just, I don't know, makes it easy. All right, so this is where I wanted to get into my cameras just a little bit more because I have one of those weird city garages that goes up a ramp into a garage, and I found that for my parking space, it's actually easier for me to back into the spot. So, you know, you've got like, you're going from a very bright space into a very dark space pretty immediately. And so having cameras that can adjust it's really important. And I feel like these cameras do incredibly well as I'm trying to make my way into this garage space, and I have to like line it up just right. So, you know, and then you have this ramp to contend with. And there, so as I've changed from light to dark, this is just really good in terms of still being able to see. And then you have the markers that show you how close you're getting to various obstacles. Now, this right here is my parking spot, and that's why I back into it, because then it just also makes it very easy for me to get out of the garage, especially because I typically have somebody who parks right there, and if they are in their space, it's really hard for me to back out and maneuver down the chute. So these cameras are just incredibly good. As you can see, there's obstacles all around. I have a very narrow space to get into, and I could do it without the cameras. I'll be clear here, I could do it without the cameras, but this just makes my job a little bit easier, so that I can make sure that I am not going to hit anything. And I really like that. So the fact that the cameras are very bright, high def, and look really good in both light and dark situation gets a very huge thumbs up for me, so that I can maneuver more easily into this dark and dingy garage. Yeah. And you know what? While we are in this dark and dingy garage, I think I should probably take a look at some of the lighting that we've got going on. While the cameras are still on, let's just take another close look at what we are seeing here. So again, this is really nice and high def, and you have options to change the different camera angles. And I like the fact that you have some different options in terms of what you are seeing, what you are doing. And yeah, this 3D mode is really cool. So I like this because it just gives you a good idea of what is going on around the vehicle and how much space you're going to have to maneuver around things. And the fact that this is high def, I love this. This is a huge selling point. Now, before we dig into the ambient lighting, I just want to take a look at how well lit your buttons are that surround the driver's cockpit, because they're outlined and bright, but not distracting or too bright. So I like the fact that it's very easy to see the things that you are trying to hit when it is dark. Now, going into the ambient lighting, in order to get there, you're going to go into your settings, and then you're going to hit vehicle, and then you're going to hit interior light, and then ambient lighting. And you do have options, which I really like. So right now it's on what they're calling Pro Pilot Assist mode, and it is white. And you can have that bright, or you can like dim it out a little bit. So if it's too bright for you, you can make it a little bit dimmer. And you can essentially, well, you can turn it off as well. So for the effects of this, we're just going to bright it up all the way so that we can take a look. And then they have some design themes. So they've got Delight with 4 color options. You've got Discovery with 4 color options. You've got Passion with some very bold, bright color options. Then you've got Harmony with some more muted, simple color options. Okay. And then you have Additional, where they will let you like set your own color. That's kind of nice. So you do have some options in terms of what you can select, how you can select it. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a pink person, so I saw that in Passion, and we're just going to go right back there. So I like the fact that you can select the colors, you have some theme options, you can customize your color, and you can make it dimmer or brighter. Now, this isn't over the top OTT ambient lighting. You do see it around the edges of the vehicle. And I will say it is also in the back, but you don't have it lighting up your footwells and you don't have it lighting up your cup holders. So it's kind of more of a simple basic ambient lighting, but it is adjustable and customizable, and I do like that. Now, because this has new headlights and taillights, the other thing that I want to do before we close this out is I want to check out the blinkers and the headlights. So coming outside of the vehicle, you can see that you have the daytime running lights that come down the side. Your headlights are here, and then your blinker shows up at the top rung of the daytime running light. Moving around to the side, you do have a side mirror light, and then coming around to the back, woo, this is going to make some people happy. Amber, you have an amber turn indicator. And I have to say, I really like how these lights appear from the back and side. And, you know, it's just kind of cool with the signature that they've got going on here. And then, yes, as I said, they do have amber. Let's dig into some driving impressions. Now, before I close this out, I do want to do a couple of brief driving impressions. And that's mostly because I don't like the engine. This has a 2.0 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, delivers, I believe, 241 horsepower, 260 pound-feet of torque, and it somehow just feels a little bit underpowered to me. Whether I was passing on the highway or whether I was coming off the line from a red light, it just, maybe it's more like it's laggy than it's underpowered, and it just, I don't know. I don't know. This is not my cup of tea. Of course, I am a little bit more of an aggressive driver. I get that. But, yeah, I'm not a fan of the engine. And as I've already pointed out, my driving position is a little less than ideal. Now, this is very quiet. It is very comfortable. The seats, the zero gravity seats that Nissan puts out are amazing. And so I definitely like all of those things. But it feels a little bit wide. It lumbers a little bit. I like the technology, but in terms of how this drives, I like this model year a little bit less than the previous generation. Yeah, sorry to say that. But, you know, you've got to test drive it yourself because you are not me. That's what I'm going to say about that. All right. So thank you for sticking with me for this tech check of the 2025 Nissan Murano. Please don't forget to like and subscribe down below, and I will see you next time with a new car du jour.